These are pages 10 through 12 of the Wetlands PDF. Economic benefits of wetlands. Wetlands contribute to the national and local economies by producing resources, enabling recreational activities, and providing other benefits such as pollution control and flood protection. While it can be difficult to calculate the economic value provided by a single wetland, it is possible to evaluate the range of services provided by all wetlands and assign a dollar value. These amounts can be impressive. According to one assessment of natural ecology ecosystems, the dollar value of wetlands worldwide was estimated to be $14.9 trillion. This fact sheet summarizes some of the important ways in which wetlands contribute to the economy. A wetland is a natural area that is often wet but may not be wet all year round. Wetlands are characterized by their distinctive hydrology, soils, and plants. Once regarded as a wasteland, wetlands are now recognized as important features of the landscape that provide numerous beneficial services for people and wildlife. The economic value of a wetland is an estimate of the importance of or worth of one or more of its services to society. Some of these services or functions include protecting and improving water quality, supporting the fishing industry, storing floodwaters, and providing opportunities for education and recreation. If wetlands are destroyed or damaged, it can be difficult or impossible to replace all of these functions. Drinking water quality. Wetlands improve water quality in nearby rivers and streams and thus have considerable value as filters for future drinking water. When water enters a wetland, it slows down and moves around wetland plants. Much of the suspended sediment drops out and settles to the wetland floor. Plant roots and microorganisms on plant stems in the soil absorb excess nutrients in the water from fertilizers, manure, leaking septic tanks, and municipal sewage. While a certain level of nutrients is necessary in water ecosystems, excess nutrients can cause algae growth that's harmful to fish and other aquatic life. A wetland's natural filtration process can remove excess nutrients before water leaves a wetland, making it healthier for drinking, swimming, and supporting plants and animals. For example, the Congaree bottomland hardwood swamp in South Carolina removes a quantity of pollutants from the watershed equivalent to that which would be removed by a $5 million treatment plant. Flood control. Flood damages in the U.S. average $2 billion each year, causing significant loss of life and property. Wetlands can play a role in reducing the frequency and intensity of floods by acting as natural buffers, soaking up and storing a significant amount of floodwater. A wetland can typically store about 3 acre-feet of water, or 1 million gallons. An acre-foot is 1 acre of land, about 3/4 of the size of a football field, covered 1 foot deep in water. 3 acre-feet describe the same area of land covered by 3 feet of water. Coastal wetlands serve as storm surge protectors when hurricanes or tropical storms come ashore. In the Gulf Coast area, barrier islands, shoals, marshes, forested wetlands, and other features of the coastal landscape can provide a significant and potentially sustainable buffer from wind, wave action, and storm surge generated by tropical storms and hurricanes. After peak flood flows have passed, wetlands slowly release the stored waters, reducing the property damage downstream or inland. One reason floods have become more costly is that over half of the wetlands in the United States have been drained or filled. The loss of more than 64 million acres of wetlands in the upper Mississippi Basin since the 1780s contributed to the high floodwaters during the Great Flood of 1993 that caused billions of dollars in damage. The damage sustained by the Gulf Coast during Hurricane Katrina could have been less severe if more wetlands along the coast and Mississippi Delta had been in place. One of the most valuable benefits of wetlands is their ability to store floodwaters. Maintaining only 15% of the land area of a watershed in wetlands can reduce flooding peaks by as much as 60%. Cleaning the water. Because natural wetlands are so effective at removing pollutants from the water that flows through them, engineers and scientists construct systems that replicate some of the functions of the natural wetlands. These constructed treatment wetlands use natural processes involving wetland vegetation, soils, and their associated microbial life to improve water quality. They are often less expensive to build than the traditional wastewater and stormwater treatment options and have low operating and maintenance expenses and can handle fluctuating water levels. For example, in 1990, city managers in Phoenix, Arizona needed to improve the performance of a wastewater treatment plant to meet new state water quality standards. After learning that upgrading the plant might cost as much as $635 million, the managers started to look for a more cost-effective way to provide final treatment to the plant's wastewater discharge into the Salt River. A preliminary study suggested that a constructed wetland system would sufficiently clean the discharge water while supporting high-quality wetland habitat for birds, including endangered species, and protecting downstream residents from flooding. All these benefits would be achieved at a lower cost than retrofitting the existing treatment plant. As a result, the 12-acre Tres Rios demonstration project began in 1993 with assistance from the Corps of Engineers, the Bureau of Reclamation, and EPA's Environmental Technology Initiative, and now receives about 2 million gallons of wastewater per day. This project is still flourishing, serving as home for thousands of birds and other wildlife. There are hundreds of wastewater treatment wetlands operating in the United States today. Fisheries. The nation's wetlands are vital to fish health and thus to the nation's multi-billion-dollar fishing industry. Wetlands provide an essential link in the life cycle of 75% of the fish and shellfish commercially harvested in the United States, and up to 90% of the recreational fish catch. Wetlands provide a consistent food supply, shelter, and nursery grounds for both marine and freshwater species. Landings of crab, shrimp, and salmon were valued at $1,167 billion in 2004. These species are dependent on wetlands for at least part of their life cycles. In 2004, the dockside value of fin fish and shellfish landed in the United States was $3.7 billion and was a basis for the $7.2 billion fishing processing business. United States consumers spend an estimated $5.4 billion for fishery products in 2000. Recreation. Wetlands are often inviting places for popular recreational activities including hiking, fishing, bird watching, photography, and hunting. More than 82 million Americans took part in these activities in 2000, spending more than $108 billion on these pursuits. For example, over 34 million people went fishing in 2001, spending an average of $1,046 and 16 days each on the water. Anglers spent $14.7 billion in 2001 for fishing trips, $17 billion on equipment, and $4 billion for licenses, stamps, tags, land leasing and ownership, membership dues, contributions, and magazines. The overall economic impact of recreational fishing is estimated at $116 billion, and wetlands play a crucial role in the life cycle of up to 90% of the fish caught recreationally. In 2001, approximately 3 million people hunted migratory birds and 6.5 million small mammals that are often found in wetlands. They spent more than $2.2 billion, including $111 million paid by migratory bird and the large game hunters to lease hunting and fishing areas and blinds, often located on private property with wetlands. Each year, nearly $200 million in hunters' federal exercise taxes are distributed to state agencies to support wildlife management programs, the purchase of lands open to hunters, and hunter education safety courses. Proceeds from the federal duck stamp, a required purchase of migratory waterfowl hunters, have purchased more than 5 million acres of habitat for the refuge system. Just watching the wildlife, many of which depend on wetlands, has become a popular pastime. More than 66 million people 16 years old and older, 31% of all Americans, fed, photographed, and observed wildlife in 2001 and spent $40 billion on their activities. Valuation of wetlands. Although wetlands provide important services to society, these services are typically not sold, nor do they have a market value. Wetland benefits can be estimated by several standard market and non-market value techniques. The three most common are cost-benefit analysis, cost-effectiveness analysis, and benefits valuation for compensation for environmental damages. The techniques can be applied whether the change in environment is an improvement or a degradation. Wildlife habitat. Diverse species of mammals, plants, insects, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and fish rely on wetlands for food, habitat, or shelter. Wetlands are some of the most biologically productive natural ecosystems in the world, comparable to the tropical rainforests or coral reefs in the number of variety of species they support. Although wetlands make up only about 5% of the land area of the lower 48 states, more than 1/3 of threatened and endangered species live only in wetlands. An additional 20% of the country's threatened and endangered species use or inhabit wetlands at some time in their life. Some species must have a wetland in order to reproduce. Migrating waterfowl rely on wetlands for resting, eating, and breeding areas, leading to increased populations. As noted, the appeal of wetlands to the diversity of plant and animal life that they attract contribute or support many businesses. Other commercial benefits. Many industries, in addition to the fishing industry, have benefits or produce products dependent on wetlands. Part of this economic value lies in a variety of commercial products they provide, such as food and energy sources. Rice can be grown in a wetland during part of the year, and the same area can serve as wildlife habitat for the rest of the year. Some wetland plant species, such as wild rice and various reeds, can be harvested or used to produce specialty foods, medicines, cosmetics, and decorative items. In many coastal and river delta wetlands, hanging of wetland vegetation is important to livestock producers. In Europe, reed growing for building materials is undergoing revival in some countries as people realize the full potential of reeds as roofing material. Aesthetically pleasing, thatched roofs are superior insulators to conventional tile roofs, and they have a lifespan of 25 to 40 years. Fur-bearing animals such as mink, muskrat, and beaver use wetlands during some part of their life cycle. Income can be derived from trapping these fur bearers either by the direct sale of their pelts or by leasing the wetlands for the fur harvest. The nation's harvest of muskrat pelts alone was worth $124 million in 2004. Wetlands also provide employment opportunities, including such positions as surveyor or park ranger. The production of raw materials from wetlands provides jobs to those employed in the commercial fishing, specialty food, and cosmetic industries. These are billion-dollar industries that depend in part on wetlands to flourish. In addition to the many ways wetlands provide economic benefits, they offer numerous less tangible benefits as well. These include providing aesthetic value to the residential communities, reducing stream bank erosion, and providing educational opportunities as an ideal outdoor classroom. By nearly any measure, it pays to save wetlands. Did you know, although wetlands cover only about 5% of the land surface in the lower 48 states, they are home to 31% of plant species? In 2002, Louisiana commercial fish landings exceeded 1 billion pounds with the dockside value of $343 million, approximately 30% of the total catch by weight in the lower 49 states. Rivaling the likes of tropical rainforests and coral reefs, wetlands are among the most fertile, productive ecosystems in the world. 2/3 of all fish consumed worldwide are dependent on coastal wetlands at some stage in their life. Annual fish and seafood production in swamps and marshes worldwide has been estimated as an average of 9 tons per square kilometer, 259 hectares, or 640 acres. As many as one-half of all of North American bird species nest or feed in wetlands. 5 to 7 million migratory waterfowl, including the endangered whooping crane, use wetlands, i.e. prairie potholes, and resting and feeding